My name is Kira, and this is Chapter 5 of Boxcar to Nowhere. Chapter 5. Where's Hope? Sergeant Barros watched as the two patrol cars drove in and parked side by side. Through one car window, he could see the white bandages on the prisoner in the back seat. Brad Stiller was the first to emerge, and he greeted Barros with a wave. "Sorry we took so long, but they were busy in the ER. Here he is finally. Good luck with him. We couldn't get a word out of him other than complaints." The captive was assisted out of the back seat, and Sergeant Barros got his first complete look. There was a large bandage covering his lower right arm, one circling his lower leg, and an extensive one covering his neck. Sergeant Barros raised an eyebrow and stroked his chin. A few more seconds, and Jazzy would have killed this one. He obviously was trying to do just that. With two officers helping, the prisoner was led into the police station and down to the nearest interview room. As soon as the man was seated, he glared at the officers and shook his head. "I'm telling you nothing until I get a lawyer. Don't bother to ask." One of the men handed Sergeant Barros an envelope marked "Evidence." Barros opened it and poured the contents onto the desk in front of the prisoner. One of the items was a very scuffed wallet. Barros pulled out the identification cards, inspected them quietly, then a worried look came over his face. "Says here that you are Tommy Thompson?" "Two cards have that name. Where did you get this wallet?" The captive had no comment and continued to glare at Barros, definitely not willing to answer any questions. Barros thought about this new identity emerging just at this moment. This suspect was presumed to be Tate, the escaped convict. But this man's clothing was well worn, not new, and so was the wallet. Barros pulled one of the officers aside. "Better get a photo of Tate and bring it in here. Something's wrong." He tossed the wallet back into the envelope and sat down. "One question, and you better answer it. Is your name Jerome Tate?" Again the defendant glared, but no response. Barros crooked his finger at the other officers. "Book this one as unidentified and get his prints right away." They understood and rapidly assisted the suspect to his feet and led him away. Sergeant Barros was left alone in the room with nothing but the remaining contents of the man's pockets scattered on the table. He had become convinced that this was not the fugitive Tate, but the one helping him to escape. The one who had provided the transportation, clothing, and possibly a weapon or two. If that was true, then the fugitive Tate was still on the run and possibly had evaded their local police force. Their efforts had been concentrated in the local railway yard, where it is possible Tate intended to hitch a ride on a departing train. Barros himself had watched one train slowly pulling away after permission had been given. He banged his fist on the table in exasperation. The arrest had been flubbed. The man named Tate had escaped to parts unknown. "He's not Tate," the officer said as he placed the photo on the desk, and one glance certified that that statement was, unfortunately, true. Jerome Tate was on the move, thanks to a hasty conclusion. Barros looked up, nodding his head in agreement. "Yes, we made a premature assumption, but at least we caught his assistant, and perhaps we can get useful information from him that might determine where Tate is headed." Barros got up and recalled that he had not had a cup of coffee in hours, and he headed to the break room. 3 officers were already doing the same thing, enjoying their coffee. When Barros came in, the abrupt way they stood up and watched him indicated that they had been discussing the morning's activities among themselves. "So, you guys have something to say to me?" Barros asked over his shoulder while pouring a cup. He turned around and inspected them one by one, waiting on a reply. "Sarge, we were all impressed by your daughter this morning, no doubt about it. She showed a lot of courage just being there, and thanks to her dog, Jazzy, we caught the fugitive quicker than we thought. Plus, are you aware of just how beautiful she has become?" one of them asked, suppressing a small laugh as he spoke. Hope is becoming a woman under my very eyes. Every day she changes, and it won't be much longer, and she will be gone from me. I do indeed notice how she looks, and it always hits me how much like her mother she has become, Barros admitted. But enough of that. We just discovered the man that we captured is not the escapee from prison. We have not yet caught Tate, at least not yet. There was surprise and dismay on all three of their faces. They looked back at Sergeant Barros, not knowing what to say. "What do we do next, Sarge?" one asked. Sergeant Barros looked them over, thinking while he, at last, took a big sip of coffee. "What we don't do is go back to the rail yard. Tate will be long gone by now, and he may have caught one of the trains pulling out after we left. We have to send out alerts, and we have to interrogate the man we caught. By the way, his name is Tommy Thompson. He just hasn't admitted it yet." Dave Wentworth cleared his throat and partially raised his hand before speaking. "Sergeant Barros," he ventured, "why not take Jazzy back down there and finish the tracking? We can't be sure he's not still around the track someplace, can we?" "True enough, Dave," Sergeant Barros said, thinking the same thing before the captain had pulled them all away. Dave nodded, but then had another thought. "I forgot to say goodbye to Hope before she left. Please tell her for me how much I enjoyed her help today." Sergeant Barros's cup was put down hard, and he glanced at the ceiling trying to think this out. "I didn't take her home, Dave," he blurted. "I thought you did." He trailed off and reached for the phone and quietly dialed his home number. They all heard the ringing coming from the handset. No one answered. Hope was not